I too believe, like others, that there were good intentions. But pardon me for saying this, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You don't do this to your own, especially in the United States. You know, we defend democracy and freedom in the world. This is an absolute contradiction to that.
It was worse than being raped, because I was betrayed by everything that I was proud of and everything that I morally stood for. I joined the service so I could serve and give my life for the country. But I didn't think I'd have to give my life this way.
Probably found a lot of folks in the anthrax vaccination line, but for a group of us, we felt that it was essentially unconscionable to turn around and take the vaccine when there were legitimate, unanswered safety, efficacy, and quite frankly, legality questions about the experimental nature of the vaccine.
The one smoking gun that Congress and the rest of the authorities, the folks wearing stars up here, seem to fail to want to address. You know, it's our pilots, our enlisted people, people like me, people like the others that are paying the price for it. You know, I'd rather have caught a bullet from an AK-47 than gotten injected with this stuff. At least I would have known what my fate would have been. You know, am I going to be alive 2 years from now? Or am I going to join the ranks of some of my buddies that are passing away? Or in wheelchairs? Or walking on crutches?
Force Reserves, Air Reserve Technician, Dover Air Force Base, Delaware. Except for a 2-year hiatus, 32 years. Vietnam, Gulf War, Grenada, Panama, and all the little deals in between. I took the fourth shot in November of 1999, and within 2 weeks of that, the Air Force sent this gigantic, rank-laden team to Dover. More stars than I've ever seen at Dover Air Force Base. There were 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars, and every one of them had 3 or 4 full colonels to get coffee for them. I mean, it was the most incredible team I've ever seen. It was every high roller in the anthrax vaccine program was there to talk to us because the active duty wing commander had called the timeout.
Each man or woman would say, I was perfectly healthy, and I took the anthrax vaccine and I immediately became ill. I had vertigo, headaches, severe fatigue. Now I have an autoimmune disorder, or some would say I have a thyroid problem, or some would say I have multiple sclerosis symptoms, or some of them would say I have lupus symptoms. They were going to the hospital, and the hospital was telling them initially, oh, you might have had a reaction to the anthrax vaccine, which they knew they did, only to be told later on, oh, it wasn't the anthrax vaccine. We don't know what's wrong with you, but it wasn't the anthrax vaccine. So these people, as a last resort, were going to the highest command on base saying, I'm hurting, and the medical community is making a mockery of it. So the commander called the people into the theater in May of 1999. I'm not for sure what day it was. But he said, I want to hear from you folks. And one by one, they stood up and told their story in the commander's call. And he brought a doctor from headquarters to listen to their complaints. And the doctor stood up after he heard many of their complaints and said, look, I don't know what's wrong with you people. All I know is we have a mandatory program and you're going to take it. Then the commander showed him, who was the commander, and said, no, no one at my base is taking it.
About 15 minutes ago, I made the decision that based on concerns and questions that need to be answered, that no one at Dover Air Force Base will receive the anthrax.
No one at my base is taking this medicine anymore, not till somebody gives me answers. He adjourned the meeting. He called the Pentagon. He said, this is Colonel Felix Greta, commander at Dover Air Force Base. I've suspended the anthrax vaccine at this base until somebody gives me answers. He got answers immediately. The 3-star general, the highest ranking medical officer in the Pentagon, and his staff showed up at Dover Air Force Base the next morning.
Dr. Lee Rogers, you just stand up. Dr. Alving, Dr. Dana Bradshaw in Preventive Medicine and Family. Dr. Friedlander from USAMRIID, Colonel Fred Gerber, Colonel Crowder, Harvey Crowder, Lieutenant Colonel Borowski from the Joint Program Office, Dr. Pittman from USAMRIID, Colonel Williams, because there is the at least loose connection in people's mind with the alleged Persian Gulf illness.
They reconvened a commander's call and told everyone that there's nobody sick.
I have done my 6th initial series. I'm due my booster in July. I have had immunization from lot 020. I am not concerned about the safety of this medication.
That it's safe and effective, and it's FDA approved, and the program will go on.
Let me say this as succinctly as I can. There is not, there never has been, squalene as an adjuvant in the anthrax immunization. Period.
I'd like to have an answer why I have anti-squalene antibodies in my system. You know, there's medical research that's been around for 30 years that indicates this is unsafe. This is very harmful to people. It's an oil-based adjuvant. It's a big no-no to use on people. Why did the FDA find this in 5 anthrax vaccine lots?
I know that we have a safe, effective vaccine against a uniformly fatal disease that our adversaries have weaponized. It is a force protection issue. I know that squalene is in fact a red herring. It is not, has never been, will not be in the immunization for anthrax. 020 and 030 have been tested, all the rest are going to be tested, and that is so that you will know that in fact we listen to the issues that we see published.
If there is no squalene in the anthrax, then I want to know. And I want to know not just from the military, but I want to know from the people that are saying that there's possibly squalene in it. And I want to know from credible sources like in Stockholm or National Institute of Health. And I'm not hearing that. And until I hear that, I don't feel confident in ever taking another shot. And if I have to get court-martialed to not take another shot, I will get court-martialed not to take another shot.
I'm sorry to hear.
The commander stood up and in so many ways retract what he said, and he told the folks.
I said on more than one occasion this morning that there has never been and there is not squalene in the anthrax vaccine. I believe him. I expect you to believe him. Officer in the Air Force and the United States Air Force Surgeon General. He is the most credible person on this subject today. So I expect everyone here in the Dover team to believe that. I believe that what you are seeing is a huge amount of concern to address this issue. The timeout that I called last Wednesday was to address concerns. They are addressed to my satisfaction. And you can see the United States Air Force and Army representatives here bending over backwards to address those concerns.
The BioPort production line is now up, and we're about to go into phase 2, which is immunization of the early responders, and then phase 3, of course, is the total force.
Yeah, I haven't seen that many for an ORI. For the kickoff of a war, I haven't seen that many stars show up. There's something bad, something real bad is going on here. But again, you know, you try to be a good trooper. You suck it up and press on.
An extension of Agent Orange in Vietnam, the syphilis used on the Tuskegee Airmen, the radiation of World War II, God knows what else. Instead of being sprayed with the chemical this time, they're injecting us with it. What's the difference?
Even the Nazis never experimented on their own troops.
Anthrax in the hands of our enemies that would kill thousands and thousands of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. This vaccine protects against that possibility.
Oftentimes you find that people will protect the institution rather than disclose the truth, and as long as the institution stays intact, they're protected.